which we like to, I like to anyway. Vidal Riley will probably feel that he's the better boxer and that he can win that way. Chev Clark will probably look at Vidal Riley and say that may be so, but I went to the Olympics, I've got basic tools and I'm tougher than you. So I'll drag you into something you're not ready for and I'll beat you that way. I mean, it's rarely that simple, is it?
Yeah, and I feel like both fighters are fighters that I've known for quite a long time. Vidal Riley, a whole lifetime more than Chev. He was honestly, I'm talking age 10 and 11 years old. He was sparring the boy. It was just spar my brother. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years older, around the same weight, because Vidal was obviously quite a big kid, but he was super talented. I'm talking the one in the gym you point at and say, now this is a special fighter. And then he went through England and achieved so much, but there seemed to get to a point of his life where boxing kind of didn't exist no more, and he kind of went missing for a long time. Now he's had quite a long resurgence coming back, really, even though he's been quite well known and made some headlines, and obviously the link with the influencer side of boxing really helped his brand on the professional boxing front. But this for me is his first real dangerous fight. Now Chev, an Olympian, a very, very tough fighter. Yes, admittedly he lost in Monaco against a very good fighter in the Frenchman. His name escapes me right now. Yes, and he was very big, very, very big for the weight, and he hit very, very hard. You could actually see the serious size and weight and physicality of him. It almost looked like Chev was the weight below in that ring that night. However, I don't think it will be the same against Vidal. Now, Chev is a very, very physically impressive fighter. He's very game. He can box and move a little bit and move his head a little bit, but he comes to look to put a demolition job, really. And now, my biggest question mark on Vidal Riley is, if the fight's 5, 6, 7 rounds in and starts getting to them later stages, we haven't seen him in any sort of level of stress and had to see him dig out. Can he do it? I know in the amateurs, it was kind of the thing, his physicality was kind of the thing that let him down when he first started stepping up to senior, getting to an ABA finals and not getting over the line. It was the physicality, the size of him that was the problem. Now, for him and his team and his family's sake, that they will need to be on song against a fighter like Chev. And it doesn't mean he hasn't got the skills to do it, but I think Saturday we're going to find out if he's got the engine, the ambition, the mindset to do it. He's got the skills, definitely got the skills, but Chev is an animal in the ring. Okay, well, Thomas Treiber behind us isn't too far away from making his first foray into matters this evening, so he will be introducing the fighters in. Then when they get to the top of the red carpet, they'll be having a quick chat with Mike Coppinger. So we'll try and pause for Thomas, we'll try and pause for Mike Coppinger as well. We will get to discussion of Liam Smith against Aaron McKenna and Anthony Yard against Lyndon Arthur. Of course, there's plenty of time for that tonight, there's plenty of time for that throughout the course of the week. Quite a demanding week for the fighters, as we've said. Everything at 6 o'clock in the evening, every day this week, and there's a big media capture day tomorrow as well. But the competitive juices will really start flowing in the next few minutes. Thomas Treiber, I think, just about ready to take over. So Thomas just waiting for the signal to get things moving. Let's just dive in, Matt, and just have a quick one, and keep your eye on TT. If he launches into song, then make way for him. Smith, someone you know really well, you know the whole family really well. The last time we saw him was against Eubank Jr. in the rematch. It was a difficult build-up. It didn't go right for him on the night, but most people I speak to don't feel like that is any kind of evidence that he is washed or over the hill. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Welcome to the grand arrivals for Fatal Fury. A great night of championship boxing this Saturday, April 26th, from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England. It is being brought to you by Ring Magazine and SNK Corporation, the publisher of the famous video fighting game Fatal Fury City of Wolves, with Eddie Hearn for Matchroom Boxing, Ben Shalom for Boxer, and Box Raw in association with Ring Magazine, along with their great sponsors. Public Investment Fund, Visit Saudi, STC, SRMG, Dr. Suleiman El Habib Medical Group, Saudia, the national airline of Saudi Arabia, Jeddah Season, Malaf Cola, Visit Qatar, Core Group, Desert, NHC, Jacko, Sky, Arab National Bank, First Data, Sella, and SMC. A big thanks to those great sponsors. It will be broadcast worldwide on DAZN and on Sky Sports Box Office in the UK. Final tickets are available now through ticketmaster.co.uk. Let's now get the grand arrivals started. Our first two fighters competing Saturday in a 12-round cruiserweight contest. First, let's welcome from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. He brings a professional record of 20 wins, 2 defeats, 17 of his 20 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the highly ranked contender, ranked number 8 by Ring Magazine. Let's welcome Brandon Bulletproof Glanton.
So the last time, well, the first time really that I was aware of Brandon Glanton was when he appeared during Fight Week for Okolie versus Chris Billam-Smith. He was part of Team Okolie. He'd been a sparring partner and he was shouting for a fight with Isaac Chamberlain, which didn't happen for him. But he's a dangerous guy because he's got a couple of defeats. One was against David Light, who we saw against Okolie. It was very close. It could have gone either way. Another one was in Dubai against a 3-0 Russian fighter. Maybe a slightly strange piece of matchmaking because his opponent had actually stopped Dmitry Kudryashov, beaten Dmitry Kudryashov in his second fight, so all was not quite as it seemed there. But then in his last fight, beat Alexei Egorov in Russia, so he's made a good Russian fighter basically quit in front of his home crowd. That's what happened, and that is no mean feat. Brandon Glanton, I think, is just going to make his way off the stage. He's completely blanked Mike Coppinger, the first scandal of Fight Week. I'm joking, here he is.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey, thanks for being here with us, Brandon. Look, this is going to be the biggest fight of your career, obviously. You're facing a former champion in Chris Billam-Smith. What can we expect to see from you on Saturday night?
Fireworks, don't blink. Same as the last 20 wins.
Thank you.
He's good to watch. He is good to watch, Brandon Glanton. Throws a lot of hooks, a lot of uppercuts.
And now let's welcome from Bournemouth, England. He has a professional record of 20 wins, 2 defeats, 13 of those 20 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the former WBO Cruiserweight Champion of the World, known as the Gentleman, Chris Billam-Smith.
And as we know, Billam-Smith is a crowd-pleasing fighter, a good fighter to watch. He's won every title he could have won, really. World, European, British and Commonwealth champion. He wants to get back and become a 2-time world champion. It's number 4 against number 5 in the WBC rankings. And we feel like we know what we'll get from Chris, Sonny.
Yeah, very tough, very strong. Usually quite big and impressive physically at the weight compared to his opponent. Yeah, may not have the biggest and broadest skill set or light, nimble feet to be bragging about, but very tough, very strong.
Chris, you're obviously coming off that tough loss to Zurdo Ramirez in a title unification again in November, and now you're fighting Brandon Glanton. How excited are you to shake off that loss?
Yeah, I'm excited to be back here on a big event. And it's a chance for me to right some wrongs from the last fight.
Thanks and best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Super relaxed, the gentleman.
Fighters now face off.
Okay, so we're going to do some face-offs.
12 rounds scheduled in the cruiserweight division. Brandon Bulletproof Glanton versus the Gentleman, Chris Billam-Smith.
This is a massive opportunity for Glanton to get the real name on his record and try and catapult himself into the mix for world title fights. If he'd beaten David Light, then he would have got one against Lawrence Okoli, but it didn't quite go his way. So he's really, really hungry, and that's what makes him dangerous.
Big time, and I don't think this is going to be an easy fight for Billam Smith coming back after that defeat. Going in against a young, hungry lion this is nothing to lose but a huge opportunity. It could be difficult.
Our next two fighters competing this Saturday in a scheduled 12 test. It will be for the British Cruiserweight Championship. We will first welcome the challenger. From Tottenham, London, England, he is undefeated with 12 wins, 7 of his 12 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the current English Cruiserweight Champion, Vidal, the Realist Riley.
And Saturday will be a genuine home game for Vidal Riley. He grew up in the shadow of what was the old White Hart Lane, Park Lane. Went to school in Northumberland Park. It's an area I know pretty well, and it really is just around the corner. And he's had an up and down few months, hasn't he? Because he had that fight set with Isaac Chamberlain. Really good fight. People were talking about it. Then a few weeks out, Chamberlain pulled out and he was kind of on the floor, and then he got offered this, and it's for a British title, and it's on this platform, and it's better, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it would have been nice to do both, wouldn't it? But yeah, the fact that fell through must have been difficult for him, but here we are, the show rolls on, and as you say, this is a bigger fight, bigger platform.
Vidal, I'm sure it was really disappointing when you had that fight canceled recently, but now you come right back in a major stadium show. How are you feeling?
Feel good, man. It's destiny. That's how I feel. I've been saying it. I mean it. I deeply mean it. It's destiny, man. I just need to deliver.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Got the Spurs tracksuit on there.
And now let's welcome the defending champion from Kent, England. He proudly represented Great Britain at the 2020 Olympics and now has a professional record of 10 wins, just 1 defeat, 7 of those 10 wins coming by way of knockouts. Here is the former European title challenger and reigning and defending British champion, C4 Siobhan Clarke.
When you look at Chev Clarke, Sonny, he was an Olympian, which does come with a fanfare when you turn pro. He probably didn't get as big a one as some people, but he's done a lot in a short period of time, going in with the likes of Vasyl Dutsar, Tommy McCarthy pretty early on. He's won a British title, he's challenged for a European title. There's plenty of experience there. He is a tough fighter. There's the odd sign that he can maybe be hurt, that you can get to him, but as I say, the resume is impressive.
Yeah, and you really don't have to force him or beg him to get in a hard fight. You really don't. He's been refreshing as one of the Olympians, how he's approached his pro career.
Siobhan, you're the British Cruiserweight Champion. You're defending that title on Saturday in Tottenham Stadium. It's going to be over 60,000 people there, sold out. How's it going to feel?
Going to feel amazing. It's great to be on this stage, and I'm going to bring my title home.
All right, thank you. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Fighters, please face off. "12 round schedule for the British Cruiserweight Championship. The challenger, Vidal the Realist Riley, versus C4 Siobhan Clarke.
We love a fight for a British title, don't we? And this is a really good quality one.
Yeah, and I do think big props to Vidal, because even though I do rate Isaac Chamberlain as a fighter, I think stylistically Vidal much better, a boxer, lighter-handed, maybe not as big, heavy or as strong. C4 Chev comes with dynamite in both hands and really lets go. And right now, seeing them and maybe Chev looks like a slightly bigger one is making me rethink back to Mosquera and how big he was in the ring.
Our next two fighters competing this Saturday for the vacant WBA International Middleweight Championship. Let's first welcome from Monaghan, Ireland, undefeated with 19 wins, 10 of his 19 wins coming by way of knockouts. Let's welcome the relentless, undefeated fighter known as the Silencer, Aaron McKenna.
This is a really interesting fight, this, because McKenna's been waiting for something big for what will feel like forever for him. They've got all that experience over in America. They've been bred to fight. They've been at it from a young age. Did a lot as amateurs, but turned pro as soon as they possibly could. Good performance against Wisma Lima. Good performance in his first fight in the middleweight tournament, which looked like it was going to then see him face Kieran Conway in the semi-finals, which was a great fight and one that they kind of both needed, really. And then that fell through, which would have been really disappointing for him.
Aaron, you're fighting a former champion in Liam Smith on Saturday, by far the most experienced fighter of your career. How do you feel prepared for that?
Yeah, well, I've been waiting for a moment like this for a good while now. I've been calling for big fights this last 2 or 3 years, and it's a fight I'm really excited for, and I'm looking forward to it. It's just incredible to be part of the first ever Ring Magazine card, and big thanks to His Excellency for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, look, obviously a big win here I think is going to put you right in contention for a title shot. What kind of statement are you looking to make?
Yeah, well, I know there's going to be a lot of eyes on me, and this card's getting a lot of attention, so I plan to make the most of it and make a statement win come Saturday night.
All right, best of luck. Thank you.
And now let's welcome from Liverpool, England. He has a professional record consisting of 33 wins, 4 defeats, 1 draw. 20 of his 33 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the former WBO super welterweight champion of the world, Liam "Beefy" Smith.
So Matt, I was just asking you about Liam Smith before we got interrupted by Triber right at the very start. So where are you at with him? Where do you think he's at? He has had quite a lot of fights now. He's been in some real big ones, some hard ones, but I just get the feeling that there is plenty left, probably.
Yeah, well, that's the impression I get when I speak to him. I mean, he didn't look good against Chris Eubank, and that's not, I'm not even on about the result. I'm just saying he didn't look right in there. You know, he looked like he'd got the weight completely wrong or something. But he's a hell of a fighter, and he should be too much for McKenna.
Liam, you're obviously no stranger to these big stadium shows. You fought Canelo Alvarez. You've been in a million major fights. What kind of experience, and how is it going to help you in this win?
Yeah, I've had experience on all the big stages, you know, but it's all irrelevant come Saturday night. You know, obviously, Aaron McKenna's coming to try and finish my career, and it's not that time just yet.
And look, it's a long layoff for you. It's been a while, well over a year now. You think it's going to take a few rounds to shake off the rust?
No, you know, obviously sparring, I'm a little bit more experienced than that. I don't think that'll be a big part. I've done enough rounds in the gym. I've had enough fights over the years that I can't really blame inexperience, ring rust. So I'm looking forward to Saturday, looking forward to being back. It's been a long time out, and you know, I'll be back with a bang.
Thank you.
So, Sonny, put yourself in McKenna's place. He can't be too respectful, but he can't be too gung-ho either. How do you kind of strike a balance when you're in with somebody who's done so much more than you?
Yeah, and I was genuinely quite shocked when I saw this match, where the perceived level of his career, with the fights he's been at, Liam Smith, this seems like a massive banana skin, because Aaron McKenna is a good fighter in his own right, and from where he is, maybe, I don't know, brand and awareness, fighter-wise, you'd think Liam would be looking at way past it, but big props to him for taking this fight, because Aaron was a great amateur. Him and his brother have been great fighters. They've shown a lot of toughness, a lot of skills, and look, he's had some good wins. That Usman Lima was a great win, gone on to win the IBO world title since and been a force to reckon with. So this is an interesting fight. I think you've got to favour Beefy's experience, his age, and yes, he might not look the best in the Chris Eubank rematch. From their side, there were some reasons. The dates were quite pressing. He had to get maybe in the ring sooner than he would have liked, but you'd think he's coming back to really make a statement with Aaron McKenna in this fight.
He's
Thank
all
you,
business,
gentlemen.
McKenna. You look at his face there. He's dialed in for this one already.
And we'll come out throwing tons of leather as he always does.
Our next two fighters competing Saturday in a trilogy rematch scheduled for 12 rounds. It will be for the vacant WBA Intercontinental Light Heavyweight Championship. Let's first welcome from Manchester, England. His professional record, 24 wins, 2 defeats, 16 of those 24 wins coming by way of knockouts. He is the former IBO Light Heavyweight Champion of the World, Lyndon King Arthur.
The trilogy fight. So let's go to our resident Lyndon Arthur expert, which is Sonny Edwards. He's a good friend of yours, and I find him kind of fascinating, you know, because he's hard to read. Sometimes in fights, he kind of coasts through fights. There's a lot of ability there. He's got some really good wins. He hung in there and went 12 with Bivol, which was no mean feat, particularly because he had an injury to get over to get into the ring there. Sometimes you want to shake him and inject a bit more urgency. Other times, you have to stand and admire the skills.
Yeah, I mean, Lyndon's so laid back. If it was any more, he'd be laid down. He loves boxing. He doesn't really get into all the big fight talk, but look, when it sits right and he lands right, we've seen what he's capable of.
Lyndon, this is going to be your third fight with Anthony Yarde. You won the first fight by decision. The last fight didn't go your way. And in that first fight, you really had a great job with your jab. How do you get back to that?
Listen, we get it cracking on Saturday, and we'll see. Everybody should tune in. I'm excited.
And look, obviously it's 1-1 now. This is going to decide who comes out on top in this rivalry. Do you think it leads to a title shot if you win?
Pardon?
Do you think it will lead to a title shot if you win?
Yeah, whoever wins this fight goes on to bigger and better things, obviously. So, yeah.
All right, thank you and best of luck.
And now let's welcome from Ilford, London, England. He has a professional record of 26 wins, 3 defeats, 24 of his 26 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the former 2-time world title challenger, Anthony, the Beast from the East, Yarde.
He's kind of had an interesting time of it recently, Anthony Yarde, because, let's be honest, the rift with Frank Warren came at exactly the wrong time in Anthony Yarde's career, because since then he's basically had to watch Joshua Buatsi have a couple of fights that he could have had. We last saw him last October against Ralph Ilkans, where I think he went in there feeling like he was going to blast him out, and then when he decided just to box towards the end of the fight, looked a lot better. He'll have confidence from the fact that he beat Lyndon Arthur in their second meeting. But as Mike said up on stage there, whoever wins this is going to get another opportunity. He's fought for world titles twice already, tough jobs, and he wants another crack.
Yeah, I still think there's quite a bit left in him. I think he just completely underperformed in his last fight. I don't think that was a true reflection of where he's at.
All right, Anthony, obviously you know Lyndon very well. You fought him twice now. First fight didn't go your way. Second fight, 4th round knockout. How can you possibly top that?
Doing the same again, or doing it quicker. But for me, it's just focusing on getting the victory.
And look, I know you're yearning for another title shot. You've had 2 title fights now. Sergey Kovalev, Arthur Beterbiev, both are incredible fights, and you came up just short. What do you think you have to do to get back there?
Just keep winning, stay focused, keep progressing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do think this is one of those fights that could, in the estimation of some people, over-deliver, because I don't think it's necessarily a trilogy that people were really asking for. But at the same time, I think it's a good match. Neither of these two looking to break the other's gaze. You don't want to get too deep into this kind of stuff on a Tuesday, do you? I think after 30 seconds or so, you need one of you to look away, or this could go on forever, and it can become a little bit energy sapping. Okay, so we've got one fight left to go, the top of the bill, Eubank versus Benn, a fight that is steeped in history.
massive characters, so different, polar opposites. They're the perfect dance partners. You're either Team Chris or you're Team Nigel.
There was no in between.
Here you had two diametrically opposed individuals. On the one hand, the kid from East London streets, attitude, violent. Nigel Benn would walk into my office and I would never know if he was going to try and hit me or burst into tears and sob like a baby. Completely unpredictable.
Nigel Benn was my favourite fighter growing up. Fierce outside the ring, fierce inside the ring. His nickname was the Dark Destroyer, and I think he embodied that. There's almost this scare factor with him. He's the kind of guy you wouldn't want to see down a dark alley.
He would scream every time he knocked somebody out, like he wanted to beat him up again.
On the other side, you have Eubank. He would dress in exotic clothes purely because he knew it would get him front page on the tabloids.
The perception was that Eubank was the cocky, arrogant one. You know, the showman, with the big truck.
What I saw was a physical specimen that had put in a lot of work. He was the master of technique. Nigel Benn was the master of violence.
I just want to go in there and throw hell for leather at him. Not boxing. Don't want to stand up there and box. I want to go in and have a fight with him. That was my attitude.
Eubank, initially, most people hated him because of his attitude. It was like, who do you think you are? He walked around like an English country gentleman. He upset a lot of people, but they all bought a ticket to watch him coming, hoping he'd get beat.
My father was the underdog, the great pretender at the time, the guy that people thought was a bit of a hype job.
Over a period of time, they began to appreciate the enigma that was Christopher Livingston Eubank.
We just clashed. We were just so different, me and Chris.
Nigel Benn did have a lot of hatred for my father, and it showed.
My dad couldn't stand seeing you. Still has to have a lot of patience with him to this day, so I completely get it.
Nigel Benn was so destructive, and that's what he brought to the ring, a very different kind of style to Chris Eubank, and that was one of the most important components of this whole rivalry.
You don't get more of a beef in boxing than you had with my father and Nigel Benn.
I love that, VT. I absolutely love it, because the history behind this fight is as rich and as storied a tapestry as you could possibly feast your eyes on. I was obsessed with that first fight, as lots of people were. I was 12 years old when it happened, Sunday night on ITV, terrestrial TV. It was so big, it's hard to explain to people now just how big. If you stopped anyone in the street and asked them Ben or Eubank around that time, they would have an answer for you, whether they were bothered about boxing or weren't. And just listening to them all talk about it, Barry Hearn for a start, I reckon Barry Hearn could convince me to do almost anything, because he sells things so. And when he said Nigel Benn was the master of violence, and that really was how he came across, because he had this vulnerability to him, but he was incredibly dangerous. You're a bit too young for it, Sonny, the first time around. So at what kind of point were you aware of that as a boxer? Did you become aware of all of that?
That's a great question. I think for some reason, I think the videotapes that you sort of get passed down, the old magazines that you find your way into. Look, I was watching Rocky from about 6, 7. By 9, I've started boxing. Now, straight away, the classics and the legends, they was already on YouTube at the early days of it. And for some reason, I always went big on Chris Eubank, senior side. I always went big. I think there was something about the contrasting personalities, and where one's like a bull in a china shop, snarling, you know, telling you what he's going to do, and then the other one with quite a peculiar accent, let's say, but in a gentleman manner, telling you how he's going to beat you. And I think it just captured such an imagination that, even though it was before my time, we still know everything that happened of it, to the point of it gets you excited for what's going on just behind us now.
Matt, you remember it. You remember it. You know, just about. You were young, but you're obsessed with boxing. You know, as soon as you were old enough to hold up your hands, really. So you remember that Sunday night and the pure drama of it, and the hatred between the two of them, and how the whole country really just got behind it.
Well, I remember it well, and because I remember, you know, it was up the road, literally at the NEC. Everyone was talking about it. You know, my dad was not a hardcore, but certainly a casual boxing fan. Definitely would have watched all the big fights. And like I say, I was already watching boxing from the Tyson and the Rocky movies and everything else, but particularly this fight, with it being in the UK, because there'd been a few nights before, or a week before, they had this thing called the Best of Enemies or the Worst of Enemies. It was on ITV, and they were sat across, and you know, it really got the full build-up, and the hype was massive. And I was the same at the time. I was a Eubank fan. I was more of a Eubank fan, and I was delighted that he won, obviously. But it was, I just remember everyone talking about it, even my uncle and even older people kind of in between my dad's age and me. They were all on about it as well. People coming around the house to watch it. There was just a real buzz and a massive anticipation for this fight.
I think as well, something that really marked it out for me was that even if you did favour one of the two fighters, you didn't hate the other one. They might have hated each other, or rather Nigel Benn might have hated Chris Eubank then, but as boxing fans, you could definitely...
Well, I came to love Ben later.
Yeah, of course.
I came to love Ben later.
As I said, he had this kind of vulnerability, and in a way, weird though it might sound, he was so brave. Eubank was really brave, but Eubank had this unbelievable chin, and he knew he did. Whereas Ben was kind of like, I mean, I've kind of got a normal chin, but he would just stick it out there and swing.
For me, the McClellan fight for Ben, like to get knocked out of the ring in the first round, then to come back.
And it was a heavy beatdown those first few rounds.
Yeah.
It was so like...
And McClellan had this reputation.
Could you imagine that happening in this day and age?
Yeah.
The fight would have got stopped about 7 times before Nigel really started getting back into the fight.
Yeah, because he come back into the fight, then he was out on his feet again, and McClellan was, like I say, had this reputation, what a massive puncher he was. And then for Ben to come through that and to win by stoppage, and even though obviously then the fight was tragic and we all know how that's gone, but nonetheless, his point of view that night, where he was and how he come back, I think everyone... How could you not become a Nigel Benn fan after that fight?
Yeah, of course. And you look at the careers they had, God, they were in some hard fights. And for that reason, I think they both said to their sons, you're not doing this. You know, I did this, so you don't have to do this. You are not doing this. And Eubank kept Junior away from it for a long time. He had to basically beg him to let him do it. And they took a very hard attitude to it. Chris Senior said to Chris Junior, all right, you can do it. Off you go to Vegas by yourself. I'll hook you up with Mike McCallum. He'll get you a good few gym beatings. Then let's see how you like it. And Nigel was the same. He said, all right, let's put on the gloves and go in the garage. And he kind of gave it to his son, as the story goes, just to show him this is what this is about. We don't play this. The fact that they both decided they wanted